Choose Home Page Settings, and now we're going to choose Static Page, and for our home page we'll pick Home. Now we can hit Publish, and now we come back over here and we hit the logo again, and that shows that it comes back with our empty page. It no longer shows that default page from before, so we have now updated our home page. If you notice, when we click on one of our pages, the names of these pages have index.php inside of the name. And what we want to do is we want to change our naming convention. And to do that, we're going to go back to our WordPress, go back to the dashboard, and from the dashboard, we're going to go to Settings, and then we're going to click on Permalinks. And this is the different types of naming conventions. The most popular is called post name, and the reason is basically it's your URL and whatever you gave your slug name to be. It's clean and it's helpful for the search engine, so that's the one we want to use. So now we can scroll down, hit Save Changes. Now if we come back to our website and we reload, the About Us page just comes with the word About. Okay, so now it's working correctly. Now, not all websites can benefit from a search option. For example, Bethany's website, the navigation itself should get you to just about everything you need. So we're going to go ahead and remove the search option from her website. To do that, we're going to go back to our WordPress admin, and under Appearance from the dashboard, we're going to go to Customize. Then we're going to go to Header, Menu, and then we're going to scroll down until we see the option that has to do with the search box. Search icon style, it says drop down, and we're going to say disabled, and notice it went away over here. We'll hit Publish. Now we go back to our website and we reload, and it's no longer there. Next, I want to remove this little white line here because that's going to become a problem when we have our video pushing right against here. To do that, we're going to go back to our WordPress admin, and we will go to the dashboard, and from the dashboard you go to Appearances, Customize, Header, General, and then we're going to turn Header Border Bottom off and Publish. And finally, we need to remove the spaces above the menu bar, but of course it'd make too much sense for it to be right here. So once again, we'll go back to our dashboard. From there, we're going to go to Appearance, Customize, and from here we're going to go to Top Bar, General, and where it says Enable Top Bar, we're going to turn that off, and that one goes away. Hit Publish, and everything's finally cleaned up nicely. Now let's go ahead and change the copyright information in the footer to say what we want it to say. And to do that, we're going to go back to the dashboard, and from here click on Appearance, then Customize, then scroll to the bottom and choose Footer Bottom, and now we can change it to say whatever we want. In this case, we'll just put Web Yoda Inc. Now we'll hit Publish, and now notice it has this little OceanWP_date. That's a special code that says when you're actually on the real page to fill in a year. And so when we hit refresh on our page, now it'll say Web Yoda Inc. So our empty page is totally complete, and we're ready to add real content to our website. And of course, we're going to start with building our home page. To do this, we're going to go back to our WordPress admin, go back to the dashboard, and now we're going to go into Pages and pick the page we want to work on, in this case, Home. Now notice again, it doesn't say Elementor next to it because we haven't used home page with Elementor yet. We click on Home. So the first time through, the Edit with Elementor button is here. We'll click on that, and it brings up our new page inside Elementor. Here's the tools we're going to use here on the left, and here's where we're going to be building our page on the right. In the same way that driving a vehicle for the first time can be disorienting and maybe intimidating, using Elementor is going to have that feel at the very beginning as well. Now, as opposed to doing a general overview of everything that it'll do step by step, what we're going to do is build pieces step by step, and you're going to learn the overview as we go along. And the reason is only about 20% of Elementor you're ever going to use 80% of the time, so there's really no reason to cover a whole bunch of stuff you'll never use, as opposed to just showing you everything that we're going to use on a regular basis. So the basic mechanics of the Elementor environment are you have widgets here on the left, and they're the things you're going to use to build your page. And then you're going to have your content area over here where you're going to build it. Now the left item is for creating a new section, whereas the right item is for inserting templates, and the templates are basically sections that have already been created. And so one of the nice things is once you've built a section, you can save that as a template and later bring it back in to recycle code. All websites require content to create the website. So in your case, you're going to need content for your website, which is any text and information you have, as well as the pictures that go along with it. In our case, Bethany's provided that. For example, for the content, she's provided a Google Doc that has all of the text and information about what fonts and things she wanted to use to build the entire site. So that allows us to get a head start. And it turns out that collecting the content can be a little bit frustrating, but if you already have your content in an order, it's going to make it a lot easier to build your website. Now Bethany also provided a folder that had all of the different files she's going to need. So here's the files for the destinations. There's going to be a gallery. Here's some additional images, some testimonials, videos and audio, different related stuff. So again, being organized and having your content available, certainly some of it in advance, is going to make it much easier for you to build your website. Now suppose you don't have good access to images and videos for your website. What are your options? Below this video you'll find two sections, one with royalty-free images, meaning you can use them and not have to pay a fee, and royalty-free video clips where you don't have to pay a fee. For example, if we click on this link, it takes us to a website called Unsplash. And from here, if I do a search for, say, cloud light rays, there's the image that we used at the very beginning of the video. And then at that point, we just click the download. It goes to our download folder, and it's ready for us to use. Now, this site has lots of amazing pictures to use, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, on the off chance you don't have access to your own royalty-free images and videos. So now we're ready to add our video, and to do that, we first need to create a section. So we're going to click on this plus sign here, and it gives us choice how many columns we want. Now we can add columns as often as we want. We can adjust the columns, but this is kind of a default. Now for our beginning section, it's only going to have one column, so we'll choose that. And it made this little area up here. Now on the left-hand side, it has three different things you can do. You can control the layout, the style, and advanced features of the particular section. Now in this case, under layout, I'm just going to set the height to be fit to screen. And that made this really big area, and it's going to allow us to put a background video in that spot. Now to add a video background, you first have to have a video. And in our case, we're going to provide you with some resources below this video to get access to free video clips. The first one of those is YouTube. It's obviously the most popular. And one of the advantages to the YouTube environment is any video you use from YouTube, you don't have to worry about licensing, because part of the agreement is if they put it in YouTube, it gives you the privilege to at least display it in your own personal website. Now in the search box, I'm going to type 4K beach. And the 4K is for basically really high resolution videos, and beach, be obvious. We're going to click on the first one, and here's this really nice beach scene. Now we can actually just copy the URL up here to our clipboard, and we're going to be able to paste that into our website and make it a background, and this little ad is not going to show up in there. So let's go ahead and go back to our website. And now to do the backgrounds, we're going to click on Style on the left. And then the first section you see is about backgrounds. And the types of backgrounds you can choose from is classic, which is just basically an image, gradient, and movie. So let's review each of these to see how they work. So let's look at making a background here. We can click here to add an image, and then we're going to upload an image that we want to use. We're going to select files, and then we're going to go, actually there's an easier way to do this. Let's use Bethany's folder. Then we're going to go to images, and then we're going to just drag this over here. Now her image is loaded. We can just click on Insert Media at the bottom right, and it's going to place that image in there. Now initially our background is black, and we're like, well, that didn't give us what we were looking for. But if we come over here to positioning on the left here, we can choose center, center, and then scrolling down, you'll see there's always extra options if you scroll. Let's set the size to cover. All of a sudden now it kind of makes sense. The second option is this gradient. If you want to choose a gradient, and it's going to choose between two colors to gradiate between. So let's pick a second color, pick this green, and so it gradiates from one to the other. Now once you've picked a color, you have to click on the color box to get the display to show you your options again. And now down here at angle, you can choose the angle that you want that gradient to be at. You can also choose the type of gradient, so if it's linear, that's basically left to right, and then we could do radial that goes from inside to out. Now the last background type is the video, so we'll click on the video icon, and here where it says video link, we just paste that video link that we had in there, and it'll just show up in the box for us. And that's just really spectacular. So out of nowhere, we went from having a website that didn't have any content in it to having this pretty video. We like the way it looks, so we're going to click on Update at the bottom. And now we can go back to our website and click on the home page. And now we have this spectacular background for our home page. Now in Bethany's situation, she created her own video. So if we go to YouTube in another browser tab, then we do a search on Your Ultimate Vacation, it'll come up as one of the top listings. And here's the video cover she's going to use, and in her section here it has the credits to all the people that contributed. Some of these were purchased and other ones we were just given the opportunity to use, and we appreciate that. We'll also put these video credits at the bottom of the video you're watching now. So for us to use this video, we simply copy that URL to the clipboard. We go back to our website, and in the box we put in the new URL, and it'll show up with the new video. We click on Update. We go back to our website. We can click the Home button again, and we see that it shows up. Now at this point, we can go back to our home page, and we're ready to start on our next section. And so to add our new section, in her case, if we go back to her home page, we're going to be looking to build this section right here. Now I know there's text on this. We're going to add the text to that video a little bit later, but we want to build this section right here. Now in this section we've got a column on the left that has an image and a column on the right that has content. And at the top and bottom of the section are these little swoosh things. We're going to add the swoosh things later once we've built the majority of this page. And so now to make the edit to this, we can go ahead and go back to our website. So now we're back at our WordPress. And to do our new section, we're going to scroll down. We're going to choose a plus sign to add a new section. And in this case, it's going to have two areas, one for the picture on the left and for the content on the right. So we'll choose that. And now we have these two little boxes. We're going to want a picture in the left box. So let's go ahead and come to the left-hand side. I clicked on that plus to bring this up. And we're going to put an image in there. And we're just going to drag this over to that little box. And now we can choose our image, so we click on this. And now we're going to need to upload a new image. So we're going to go back to Bethany's folder and choose her profile picture. So we'll pick that one. Drag it over. It's done loading. Insert media. And now it's added to the page. We'll worry about resizing that in a minute. What we want to do now is put some content on this side over here. And to do that, I'm going to click on this box. Now what's interesting is there's three different types of things you can edit, just to give you a good idea. Notice this tab, just like this one, that's for editing the section. So when I click on that, it shows me the section controls. So for example, if I click on this one, it shows me the section controls for this one. Now over here, notice there's this little block here. Well, that's for editing the column, which that picture's in. And this is editing the column that there's nothing in so far. Whereas the little icon over here is for editing the contents of the column, in this case, this image. So we can edit the section, which gives us controls. We can edit the column, which gives us controls. And we can edit the item itself, which gives us controls. So now we want to add some text to the right column. And if I click on that box, it comes up with the options over here, and we're going to put a header in there first. So let's drag a header over there just like that, and it shows up with some default text. Now it's possible to edit the text here, but you're better to edit it on the left-hand side. It ensures you don't accidentally get some additional funny formatting in there. So we're going to come in here and put our new text, Your Ultimate Vacation Guide. And now I want to add another line of text below that. Now, when you're in a section and you want to get the widgets to show back up, you can click this little icon right here and it'll show you your choices. And so we're going to drag another header over here. And notice how the blue line is where the widget will be inserted. And then we're going to change the text for that. And then we're going to add a third item. And we're going to do a text editor this time because we want to put a bunch of text under that. And then we'll come over here and we'll paste in our content for that. Now for this section, Bethany used the green background of the color scheme that she chose. So we're going to click on the Section tab, and then we're going to go to Style. And notice where the background thing is where we did the video before. We're going to choose Classic, which is going to give us the opportunity just to choose a color, because you can either do just a color or you can do an image. And we're going to paste in the green that she gave us. And then again, click on the color icon to close that out. And now we have the green background that's going to match what she had on our website. And at this point, we're ready to format the rest of this text to make it look correct. Let's take a quick field trip back to Bethany's site. And notice that she has some large text here that's white, medium text here that's black, and smaller text here that's white. And these turn out to be 3 separate fonts, and she gives us those fonts. So if we look in the document that she gave us, she told us what she wanted these fonts to be. And one of the things that's really nice about WordPress is that instead of having to define all the fonts every single time you use them, you can actually set defaults. And so that's what we're going to do next. We're going to go back to our WordPress. And now over here at the hamburger icon, we're going to click on that, and we're going to click on Default Fonts. Now the primary headline is the large white text Bethany used. The secondary headline is the medium text she used. And the body text is just the regular, everyday I'm reading in a website text. Now accent text we haven't used, and so we're not going to be setting that today. So we're going to go ahead and set the 3 types for Bethany's website. Now the primary headline for Bethany, she chose Lato. And then the weight we're going to leave as the default is 600. Basically the weight is how bold something is. And when you look inside of there, default, you got bold, and then you've got a gradiated scale. And I think 400 is basically regular bold. So 600 is a little bit more bold than that. Next, for the secondary headline, she wanted to use Roberto Slab, and that ends up being the default in this case, so that worked out well. And we'll also use the same weight for that's the default there. And then we're going to click on the body text as our last one. And for body text, she chose Open Sans. So we'll go ahead and choose Open Sans, and we'll also use the default weight for that. Now at this point we can hit Apply, and now all of our default fonts have been set. Now one typical question that comes up often is, how do you know what the fonts are? Well, let's go over here to our tab, and then we're going to type in Google Fonts and hit Enter. And then from here, just click on the first link. It'll be fonts.google.com. And these are all the fonts that are built into WordPress that are usable by you. And they're broken down by the different types of categories and trending fonts and different things like that. So basically, if you're interested in a certain font, let's say, well, what does Lato look like? Well, I can go and type it in, and then I can see, well, that's what Lato looks like. Now with our default font set, we can go in and set the color and size of the different fonts we're using. So we're going to head back to our WordPress. And just a reminder, remember if you click here, you're editing the section, which is this entire area. It's the information that applies to that whole area. If you edit in either of these little black boxes, you're editing the particular columns. And if you edit the little right edge of these are for the particular items that are within the columns. So there's 3 levels of editing. Now in this case, we want to change the size of this particular piece of text. So we're going to click on the little blue box here, and it brings up the controls for that on this side. Now remember, there was something called a primary heading, which is the large text that's white, and the secondary heading, which is the medium text that is black. Well, to choose those, it's down here under this HTML tag. We want to choose H1, which is going to make the primary heading the choice for this text right here. Now we're going to click on the style options for that, and typography is going to allow us to set style for that particular font, whereas above that is text color. Now that text is supposed to be white, so we'll click here and we'll go ahead and choose white, and again click on the little box to exit out of there. So now our text is white. Now we can do the typography, and the typography is going to allow us to set the individual attributes for the font. So for example, if we want to change the size, we can scroll in and out on this, or we can manually set it. We're going to set it to 50 in this situation. And then the weight, we could set that. That's going to be our default. Now for transform, if you want it to be all uppercase, it'll do that for you. All lowercase. Capitalize, which makes the first letter capital on each word. Normal. And we're just going to stick to the default. Also under style, you can pick normal, italic, or oblique. In this case, obviously default. And the decorations allow you to say whether it's going to be underlined, overlined, line through, or none. We're choosing default. And at the bottom, you can choose a line height, which is how much space is between the lines, and you can choose how much space is between the letters. And by putting nothing in these boxes, you're going with the defaults on those as well. And for me, I'm almost always using the defaults because they're set to a standard for a reason. Alright, so that typography is fixed. Now text shadowing allows you to set text shadowing around it to a particular color. So let's say we want to have it to be black. We can choose black, and then as we scroll up or down, you notice that the letters over here are getting a line around them, bigger and smaller. And if I close out of that, I can choose a blend mode. So it gives you a lot of different options as far as ways of having special effects on your text. Now for me, I'm just going to have normal, and I'm not going to have that particular feature on this one, so I'll pick default. Now I'm going to set the text for the next box, so I'll come over here and click on that. And I'm going to go to Style, and we want to use black for this one, so we'll choose black. We'll exit out of that. And then under typography, it turned out that she had decided, even though her secondary headline she wanted to be Roberto Slab, that in this particular use she wanted to make it Montserrat. And so we're going to choose that. And we'll set the size to 32. We can exit out of that. And now we'll click on the text for our edit box. We're going to go to Style. This text is supposed to be white, so we'll choose white. Close that out. And now we'll go to Typography. And default is the font. And for the size, let's put 18. Now we've closed out of that, and we're ready to edit the settings for the picture. Now one problem is, even though this is a great picture, it's way too big, and it's certainly not what Bethany has on her site. Notice how much smaller it is. And the reason is that the default when we gave it 2 columns was 50%, and clearly she's made hers less than 50%. So we'll go back to our WordPress, and then we'll click on the column itself, and now we can make a change. Instead of 50, let's try 30. That looks a little bit more like what she had. We'll click on Update. We'll come over here. We'll reload our page. And that looks significantly more like what she had. Now at this point, notice that this stuff is centered and ours is not. So we want to go back and make that center adjustment as well. So we can come back over to our WordPress. And then we'll click on this text. And at the bottom we can center it. And then we'll click on this text, and at the bottom we can center it. And now we can update and go back to our website and hit reload, and now it's also centered. If you notice in our version, there's a lot of space on either side, whereas in Bethany's there's not. So this particular section, she has full width instead of boxed in. So let's go ahead and go back to our WordPress, and then for that particular section, we're going to select that section, and then on the left, we're going to turn on section stretch, and then we're going to turn on content full width to be full width there, like that. And then we're going to click on update, and now we'll go back to our site, and we'll hit reload, and now it basically looks the same as her site. Now we want to go back to Bethany's website and notice the dividers that it has with the little wave looking thing and the extra space at the top and the extra space at the bottom and again the wave thing. We're going to go ahead and make those updates to our version. So if we go back to WordPress, the first thing we're going to do is add some space in the top and bottom of this section. So let's go ahead and click on the section itself, and then if you go to the Advanced tab, we can add padding to it. Now if you add padding in here, it adds it all the way around. So for example, if I put 40 in here, it'll do it at the top and the bottom and the left and the right. Well, if I don't want it that way, I can click on this little guy here. I didn't really want it on the left and the right so much maybe, but I wanted it on the top and the bottom. So that allowed me to add the spacing at the top and the bottom just the way we want it to. Now we're going to add the spacer in between here that looks like a little wave. And it actually is added to the bottom of the top section. So we're going to click on the top section and make it the active one. We're going to go to Style, and at the bottom of Style there's a thing called Shape Divider. And inside Shape Divider you can put a divider at the top or at the bottom, or both. We're going to choose bottom. And then we're going to choose the Waves brush, and it shows up down here. And now we're going to click on to change the color and use the green that Bethany used. Exit out of that, and then we're going to set the height of this to say 60. And now we have that wave divider there. Now to put the wave divider at the bottom, we're going to come into this section. We'll scroll down, and then we're going to go back into our style for this one, and we're going to scroll down, shape divider, and we're also going to put it on the bottom. And then we're going to choose our shape of the waves brush, and it's the white, the same as hers. You see if we come over here, hers has a white one at the bottom, so that's okay. But it's too tall, so we'll go in here and change the height of that to say 60. And then there's not enough space in between these anymore. It's a little close, so we'll go back to our Advanced tab, and where we had 40 for the bottom, let's try 60. And maybe 70. So now we have enough space. We have the divider at the bottom and the divider at the top. So we can hit update. And then go back to our website and hit refresh. And we have the divider at the top. And we have the divider at the bottom. And we're ready to do our next section. Now we're going back to Bethany's website to review the next section, which are these 3 call to action areas. And notice when you move your mouse over the icon, they pop out a little bit, and over the buttons they pop out a little bit. We're going to create one of these call to action areas, and then we'll make 2 copies and then just change the content on those. So let's go back to our WordPress, and now we're going to make a new section, and this section is going to have 3 columns in it. And now for the first column, we're going to click on that. We're going to want to add what's called an icon box. So we're going to scroll down, and there's our icon box. We're going to drag that over, and look at that little blue line. Where that blue line is, that's where it's going to insert it at. And now I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to click on this icon to bring the list up again. And I'm going to grab a button, and we're going to bring it down here, and we're going to add a button below that as well. And while we're here, we'll go ahead and center our button so our button's in the right spot. Now we want to style our icon box, so we're going to click on that to make it active. And up here where it says star, we're going to pick sun because that's the one we used. The title we're going to use is destinations. And the content is that. Now at this point we want to make the changes for colors and things to this, so we're going to come into the Style tab, and under Primary Color we're going to pick the yellow that Bethany used in her website. Close that out. And then under Content it has 2 areas. It has the title, which is this guy, and it has the description, which is this guy. And for the description, for the title, we're going to set the color to the teal that she used. It was in her list of colors. We'll close that out. And now under typography, we're going to make the font a little bit bigger. Let's say 28. And then for the description size of the font, let's go down here and make it a little bigger. We'll choose 18. Go out of that. Now we'll scroll back to the top, and under Advanced, we want to add a little spacing around here. So for our padding, let's put 20 all the way around that. It gives it a little space around there. And then notice that our icon doesn't bounce. So let's go back to the style, and under here it has normal and it has hover. And basically when you hover over it's when that happens. So we're going to click on hover, and then the hover animation, we scroll down and it says bounce in, and now when we move our mouse over it bounces like the other one. Now I don't want these words as spread out in this section as they are, so we're going to click on that. We'll go into our style for that section. At the bottom is the content, and this is the description. So we'll go into typography and scroll to the bottom of that, and we'll see that there's a line height, and let's just put that at 1.3. That's a lot better. Now let's make some changes to our button. So we'll click on the button item, and the text on the button should say learn more. The link should be for our Destinations Jamaica page. And then we're going to set the color of the button under style. We'll just click on the background color and put Bethany's green in there and close that out. Now we're ready to update, and we can go back to our website and see what it looks like. So we'll click up here, and then we'll do reload, and our call to action is ready to go, and we can make our 2 duplicates now. To make our 2 duplicates, we'll go back to our WordPress, and then we'll come over and look at or highlight this icon in the left hand corner. That's the column icon. If we right click it, there's an option to duplicate. If we right click it again, there's an option to duplicate. Well, now we got to come over here and right click and delete the 2 that were extra that we had, and right click and delete that one. So now we have our 3 areas, and we just need to update the content on those and maybe do some magic and make that happen pretty quick. Now our content has been updated for the 2 here, and we're ready to hit update and go back to our WordPress website page. Hit reload, and there we have all 3 of our call to actions. Now we want to add our wave divider at the bottom, and in Bethany's site it's that teal color. So we're going to come back over to our WordPress. We're going to select this section because it's going to go at the bottom of this section. Then we're going to go to style, and inside of shape divider we're going to choose the bottom one, and then we're going to come inside of here and choose waves brush. We're going to set our color to that teal, close that out, and we're going to set the height to 60. And now we notice that clearly there needs to be more space here. So to do that, we're going to go into Advanced, and then we're going to unlock this, and then we're just going to add a whole bunch at the bottom, let's say 70, and maybe we'll try 80, and that looks good. So we can hit update, go back to our site, hit reload, and the call to action section is complete. Okay, it's almost complete, but when you go across these buttons they don't light up and they don't bulge out. So let's come back to our WordPress. We'll click on a button. We got to go to style, and we got to set the hover for those, and then the background color is going to be Bethany's yellow. We'll close out of that, and then the animation is going to be our bounce in. And now that one bounces, and then we're going to magically do the other 2 just the same. And now they all work, and we can hit update, get back to our website, hit reload, and we really are done now. Now we're ready to do the next section. On Bethany's website, the next section is this travel tip section, basically frequently